Good afternoon, children. So, I hope you all are finding it quite comfortable to study in your homes. Your syllabus has been reduced to a certain extent. In this first part of your geography, the syllabus is retained as it is, that is, the first chapter and the fourth chapter is there in full, and the third chapter is there with map work, that is the map work of dam. But in the latter part of your subject, we have this mineral resource chapter which is deleted from your syllabus. Only map work of mineral resource is there, and after that we have two more chapters which we have to do full with map work. So this is the new syllabus. 30% of the old syllabus has been removed just for your convenience as you all are studying from home. But when we meet, we will start revising from the beginning itself, so that whatever little bit doubts you all are having, that can be cleared. As we all have entered into the reforms portion of our agriculture chapter, so I have given you the notes on the backdrop of reforms, that is why the reforms became necessary in our country, and then I gave you the institutional reforms, the technical reforms. Now there is a little bit of you can say portion where it is discussed how Acharya Vinoba Bhave had tried to make the land reform measures effective. Now, he was a disciple of Mahatma Gandhi, and he was a satyagrahi in the real sense. He believed in satyagraha, and he used to move from one part of the country to the other. He believed in Gram Swarajya. So, after Gandhiji's martyrdom, this Vinoba Bhave tried to cover the country on foot, and he tried to spread the message that Gandhiji gave us. Once, when he was in Andhra Pradesh, he went to a village named Pochampalli and started delivering lecture there. So, at that time, that lecture was attended both by some landless laborers, landless poor farmers, as well as some rich farmers owning huge hectares of land. So these poor farmers, they started demanding land from him. Now Vinoba Bhave said that he himself was not owning any land that he will donate to the poor, but he will surely pass this message of these landless laborers, and the government will have to act accordingly to support these landless laborers. As he was saying this, there was a rich landlord in the name of Sri Ram Chandra Reddy, and this gentleman donated 80 acres of land to 80 landless villages. And this 80 acres of land later came to be known as Bhudan. Bhu means land and Dan means donation, that is, donation of land. Similarly, in some areas, the zamindars, they even donated villages to the landless villagers, and this came to be known as Gramdan. Now, after that, Vinoba Bhave was touring different parts of the country and making this idea of donation of land and the donation of villages popular. However, children, in some cases, some of the landlords were not at all happy to give away their lands. Some gave away parts of their land, and this they were forced to give because India had introduced this Land Ceiling Act. And as I have told you before, the Land Ceiling Act was a part of the reform of the government so that a single person may not pile up huge quantities of land. And abolition of Zamindar, introduction of Land Ceiling Act, all these were part of the institutional reforms that was introduced by our government in the initial phase of reforms in agricultural sector. So this Bhudan movement, Gramdan movement, together it is known as Bhudan Gramdan movement, is in fact a bloodless revolution which changed the life of many poor landless villagers who became owners of land by the donation made by these rich landlords and the zamindars. Now children, we have come to the next topic, that is contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment and output. Now you all know children that agriculture belongs to the primary sector. There are three sectors in the country which are most dominant, that is primary, secondary and tertiary. There are other two sectors also like quaternary sector and quinary sector, but in our economic activity we generally consider these three sectors, that is primary, secondary and tertiary, as the major sectors of the country that employs the maximum number of people and contributes the maximum to the GDP of the country. GDP is gross domestic product, that is the total produce of the country comes under gross domestic products. Now we are finding that there is a recent trend of decline in this agriculture sector. Now this agriculture sector employs 52% of our population at present. This percentage was quite high at the time of independence. It was nearly 80%, but currently it is 52% because with more and more development, modernization, urbanization, there is a shift of the people towards the secondary, tertiary and the other two sectors that I said, quinary and quaternary. However, we will not consider these two sectors at present. Now there is a shift of people more towards the tertiary sector and the secondary sector. So the share of people in this sector, that is agricultural sector, is declining and now it is just 52% according to the latest data. In your book children, there is a table given growth rate of GDP and major sectors in percentage. Here we have three sectors given. One is agriculture, the second one is industry, the third one is services. And there are 3 years given, 2013 to 14, 2014 to 15 and 2015 to 2016. Now the growth rate of GDP, you will find that it is declining in case of agriculture. In agriculture, the share was 4.2% in 2013 and 14. It was just 4.2%. However, in 2014-15, that is in the next year, it went to negative, that is minus 0.2. In 2015 and 16, it registered some positive growth, that is 1.1%. In comparison, if you see the other two sectors, in case of industry, it was 5% in 2013-14. It increased to 5.9% in 2014-15, and in 2015-16 it further increased to 7.3%. Though the increase is not very high, but still the other sector, the industry sector, that is the secondary sector, was registering much growth in comparison to agriculture. The third sector, that is the service sector, tertiary sector, where we have transportation, where we have banking, insurance. So here the 2013-14 year registered 7.8%. It increased to 10.3% in 2014-15. But it registered a little bit of degrowth in 2015-16, which is 9.2%. However, GDP in 2013-14 was 6.6. It increased to 7.2 in 2014-15, and it further increased to 7.6 in 2015-16. Now children, this is really alarming for the agricultural sector because it employs the maximum number of people in the country. Now we find from the table that the agricultural sector was like experiencing a stagnation in terms of employment generation, in terms of output. What do we mean by stagnation? Stagnation in economy. So stagnation is a situation within an economy when the total output is either declining, which we have found it in the agricultural sector. You have found that the contribution of the agricultural sector in GDP had declined in a huge amount. So either the total output is declining, or it remains the same, or it is growing at a very, very slow rate. So stagnation results in flat job growth, that is, there is no employment generation, there is no wage increase of the people, of the farm laborers, and an also absence of stock market booms or high. So that is the case when stagnation occurs in the economy. I have said that stagnation occurs in the economy when there is a flat job growth, when there is no further employment generation, there is no wage increase of the people, and of course the stock market, you all know children, that it increases, decreases according to the situation of the economy. If the economy is in a very much growing condition, the stock market will rise high, and if it is not, then the stock market will come down, the share prices will come down. If there is some kind of disaster in the country, the stock market will come down. If there is some kind of political change or political disturbance, or there is an emergency in the country, the stock market will come down. And when the economy is flourishing, the stock market will rise high. So stagnation in the economy is a very much dangerous situation. So stagnation in the agricultural sector is a matter of serious concern for all the people of the economy. So what will be the effects of stagnation in agriculture if it occurs? It has occurred already. That means that the number of people, or the percentage of people engaged in agricultural sector, are not having any kind of increased wages. Their standard of living has come to a point where there is no growth. The people are earning less. The national income has become stagnated because 52% people's income is not increasing. The per capita income of the country comes down. That means there is a lower standard of living for the people. So, the sector that contributes the maximum, or the sector that has the maximum number of people, must flourish, must prosper, because if that sector prosper, then the income of the people engaged in that sector will increase, their standard of living will increase, there will be employment generation in that sector, the per capita income will increase, the national economy will flourish. So, stagnation in the economy, especially in the agricultural sector, means a death knell for our economy, because 52% population who are directly engaged will be affected. Not only that, if there is stagnation in the agricultural sector, the other sectors will be also indirectly affected, because the industries who processes the commodities of the agricultural sector will get their productivity will also decrease. Even the industries which are producing machineries or different kinds of inputs, farm inputs like fertilizers, pesticides, their demand will increase, so those industries will be affected. The tertiary services will be affected, because there will be lesser demand or lesser movement of the people engaged in the first sector, that is the primary sector. There will be less income generation from the agricultural sector. All this will affect the economy as a whole. So, stagnation in the economy, stagnation in any sector means a very much negative impact for the other sectors in the economy also, as well as for the entire country. As all these things directly affect the other sectors, directly affect the whole country, our government has launched several schemes to bring about improvement in the rural areas. You have already studied about the different reforms, the technical reforms, the institutional reforms, which were only made to develop the agricultural sector. They were framed in such a way that the farmers benefit in the country. Several loans were launched by the government, so that our poor people get the benefit. Our government have introduced scheme like Jan Dhan Yojana, so that if any kind of monetary help is given, that is transferred to the account of the farmers. Not only that, this different universities that has been set up, the animal breeding centers has been set up, the veterinary divisions has been improved. There are doctors, hospitals in every rural areas. Not only that, children, ICAR has been set up to carry out research. Several research organizations are working towards the development of the rural poor of our country. Not only that, children, our government has introduced several informative ways through which our farmers can get the benefit, can improve their farming techniques, can get the latest updated information about the weather conditions. Our meteorological department has been improved. Our media has been improved to a great extent, like our Doordarshan is airing programs, the TV connectivity, radio connectivity, they has been developed. And the most important thing, there has been developed in the rural infrastructure. I had stressed this point before also, that rural infrastructure not only means better connectivity between rural and urban markets through the construction of roads, it also includes rural housing. That is, this Indira Gandhi Awas Yojana has been introduced just to provide low cost housing for these poor people. Water supply is necessary. Many of our villages do not have potable water, the water that we can consume for drinking. So, water supply is necessary for every household. Rural electrification. In most of the cases in our country, the big cities get the supply of electricity and the rural areas suffer. Though the dams are constructed by taking away lands from the rural poor, but they are the ones who are less benefited. Drainage system of our country needs improvement. Why? Because with every rain there is water logging everywhere. So proper drainage, proper channelizing of the excessive water is necessary. It is necessary to create such a channelizing of water that during the drought conditions or during the dry conditions also there is sufficient supply of water to carry out farming, because during the drought times it is the farmers who are the most affected people, because water is always supplied to the urban centers and the rural areas suffer. So that excess flood water, the excess rainwater must be stored by constructing structures in such a way so that it comes into use during the dry condition. Especially the peninsular portion of our country suffers a lot due to dry conditions, due to drought conditions. It's a very common recurrence in the peninsular plateau areas of our country. Irrigation water supply needs to be provided from the local sources of water. Like suppose there is some pond, some lake, then that water can be utilized for the farmers instead of waiting for the rains, because we know that majority of our farmers are still dependent upon the monsoon water, that is the rain water. So instead of waiting for the monsoon rain, if there is supply of water from some local sources, that is if a river is flowing by, or suppose there is a lake or a pond, water can be easily channelized from there, connecting our fields. So telecommunication connectivity must be there in every rural areas so that they can get the updated information of the latest development of every sector of the economy, not only of agriculture, not only of whatever political changes are occurring in the country, but also of any kind of impending disaster or danger in the country which may affect the lives of the people. So all these are part of the rural infrastructure. So our government is working in a way so that the farmers get benefited, apart from opening all these research centers, animal breeding centers, horticulture development centers, ICAR, agricultural universities. The government is working in a very positive way to bring about improvement in the agricultural sector, because the life of 52% population is concerned here, and if this 52% people do not contribute positively in the output of the country, in the GDP of the country, the national economy will not prosper further. There will be stagnation economy, there will be poor standard of living, there will be less per capita income. So it is very necessary that this sector, agricultural sector, is paid utmost importance. So children, in the next class we will do that why in the recent years the farmers of our country cannot compete with the international farmers. what is the reason behind this. So children, I have done just 3 paragraphs and the Bhudan Gramdan movement. So please go through it, and very soon we will be finishing this chapter also, and with that we will come to the end of the syllabus of the first term. Of course, map work of dam will be left, which we will do.